You know, bit of a surprise for you. Beattie Boy on a Sunday, June 22nd, 2014. Special edition of the Dinosaur News. When we say, or when I say dinosaur news, I'm talking about news for dinosaurs. Dinosaurs of our British race who still care about our ancient heroes, our ancient way of life. The word news may imply current news, but it doesn't, does it? It doesn't say current news, it says dinosaur news. We're talking to those people who remember the way the British Empire was, the white Commonwealth was, more particularly the white Commonwealth. So let's just reestablish that very clearly on June 22nd, 2014. This is news about the survival of our peoples, our British race in particular, and our European cousins, and the ways in which we dinosaurs can survive and continue on forever, as long as the earth remains. I have a debate with good friends on the blind list as to different approaches. But this boy's chosen approach is to talk mainly as to how our peoples are going to survive. End of that tidbit. Okay, I promised last day. I couldn't find the booklet in a hurry. Toronto the Good booklet publication. Toronto the Good. It was published 1978. An album of colonial Hogtown. And bringing that up in the last video and today with the shocking news that whites are now under 50% in Toronto. Toronto the Good is now Toronto the Bad. 49% white. What does that tell you? Okay. To steer people who are searching for any election news as to the candidacy of yours truly running for Deputy Reeve, October 27th election, 2014, here in the home area, Minden Hills. You go to a web page solely with the poster on it, johnbeattie.moonfruit.com. johnbeattie.moonfruit.com. The strange name there because it's a free web page, and I hold my tongue in my cheek because I'm really not that keen on electioneering. The people are worth it. The cottagers I met yesterday are worth it, but I'm not mixing up the two here. And I'm not going to give a report daily as to electioneering. The poster tells the story, and if you have questions, you can contact us through the website mentioned on the poster. Again, to get to the poster page, the election page, John Beattie, all one word, I-E, John Beattie, moonfruit.com. And if that isn't a play on words, I don't know what is. But I'm walking a fine line because people with more brains than I have pointed out that being a candidate for election gives this boy some credibility. But the two matters, I repeat, are totally separate. British People's League is totally separate and divorced from the municipal elections. There's no tie-in whatsoever, and we don't intend there to be. Okay, having said that, another good advisor coach on the blind list has pointed out perhaps we should be talking about our ancient heroes to inspire our young people. It's going to seem like all I want to do is argue with my coaches. Boy, if you do that, you get kicked out of the ball game. the idea is great. Yes, of course. I think it passioned me to put a show on this Sunday. To shove our heroes at the young people of today who don't know about our British Canadian and our British heroes. But they're all in strip clubs, okay? They're not in our old white Christian churches today. They're in the strip bars. The few that know the score are very rare indeed. There's a young fellow named Sam Mayhew in Motherland, Britannia, who knows the score. And of course, our Candor people are the Rock of Gibraltar, our friends. Candor, C-A-N-D-O-U-R, candor.org.uk. So I will do my best to pick a hero each show to satisfy my bosses. Of course it's meant in the heart. It's just simply way down deep in this boy's heart. It's too late to educate. Too late to educate. We must gather in the thousands of people who have gone in and out of the different doors of the different right-wing groups throughout the years. They're out there. They see what's going on every day. We've got to entice them to rejoin our ranks. And with them rejoining our ranks, then perhaps we can do something on a defensive scale, legally, of course. In days of yore, from Britain's shore, Wolfe, the dauntless hero, came and planted firm Britannia's flag on Canada's fair domain. Here may it wave, our boast, our pride, and joined in love together, the thistle, shamrock, rose entwined, the maple leaf forever. The maple leaf, our emblem dear, the maple leaf forever. God save our Queen and heaven bless the maple leaf forever. At Queenston Heights and Lundy's Lane, our brave fathers side by side, for freedom's home and loved ones dear, firmly stood and nobly died. And so their rights which they maintained, we swear to yield them never. Our watchword evermore shall be the maple leaf forever. Our fair domain now extends from Cape Race to Nootka Sound. May peace forever be our lot, and plenty of store abound. And may those ties of love be ours, which discord cannot sever, and flourish green for freedom's home, the maple leaf forever. Notice it said green maple leaf, nothing to do with that red rag they call a flag. The red ensign sitting up behind me was Canada's flag for over 100 years. So we talked about Wolfe and that beautiful anthem, and a bit of a personal tie-in there. I had touched and fondled the leaves of that maple leaf tree that inspired Sir Alexander Muir to write the beautiful words to the beautiful, it's almost a hymn. When I visited my father and stepmother on Sunday afternoons, the tree at Lang and Leslie in East End, Toronto, that inspired Sir Alexander Muir stood up until this past winter. The ferocious past winter toppled the tree. They've taken some offshoots of the tree, the same tree, and replanted them in Todd Morton, which is in East Toronto, East York, but far away from the original spot. But I think it's very ironic that all these years later I'm reading out the words to that beautiful hymn anthem, and that I had, in fact, after every visit to my father and stepmother, I went to the tree. And that was as a teenager. Okay, so Wolfe, we brought him up, didn't we? Wikipedia, as I say again, I cherry pick. Wikipedia is all about Wolfe. General Wolfe. General James Wolfe, who conquered Canada at that time for our British throne. Despite the, quote, despite the large buildup of French forces in North America, the strategy of dividing the army for separate attacks on Canada meant that once Wolfe reached Quebec, the French commander Louis-Joseph de Montcalm would have a local superiority of troops, having raised large numbers of Canadian militia to defend their homeland. The French had not initially expected the British to approach from the east, believing the St. Lawrence River was impassable for such a large force, and had prepared to defend Quebec from the south and west. An intercepted copy of British plans gave Montcalm several weeks to improve the fortifications, protecting Quebec from an amphibious attack by Wolfe. Montcalm's goal was to prevent the British from capturing Quebec, etc. And then it tells about the siege, the battle, and Wolfe dying with a smile. "Who run?" demanded Wolfe as he's lying there wounded, dying, opening his eyes like a man aroused from sleep. "The enemy, sir," was the reply. "They gave way everywhere." "Then," said the dying general, "tell Colonel River to cut off their retreat from the bridge now. God be praised, I die contented," he murmured, and turning on his side, he calmly breathed his last breath. But the real ploy with Wolfe was taking the men up a massive cliff that the French general never ever dreamed that the British troops would climb up those cliffs. I expect there were a few native Indian supporters of our British ancestors who went up those cliffs with General Wolfe. There's a great write-up in Encyclopedia. And another reason I got stirred today was our brave patriot friends in Limpopo by the old Rhodesian border in South Africa. I mean, this is people right on the front lines. And I've asked for material, and I'm getting lots of it. So SA Farm Watch, South Africa Farm Watch, if you click it in Google, of course. A message from an Afrikaner, April 18th, 2014. Henry Lerish, Afrikaner. This is a letter translated from Afrikaans by Afrikaner Professor Kotizi, sorry about the pronunciation, as to why the Afrikaner as an ethnic group is an achiever. Many people apparently consider theft and robbery as acceptable. Just say that you were driven by hunger, lack of opportunities, apartheid, or the delusion that your ancient ancestors were oppressed. Let us therefore talk straight about a few things. A man doesn't steal because he is hungry or poor. He steals because he's a scoundrel and a thief. No one in this country was ever so completely suppressed as the Afrikaner Boers after the Second War of Independence against the British Anglo-Boer War, 1899 to 1902. Our Afrikaner ancestors, which is a small minority who survived the war and the concentration camps, survived the deathly emptiness of destroyed farms, family members and livestock killed and crops destroyed, being hungry, sad, and heartbroken with nothing left, did not rob, murder, and steal to get back on their feet. They worked hard, showed perseverance during hardship, so that they quickly performed not only for themselves, but also to the benefit of their current oppressors, whom they well cared for better than any other nations in the rest of Africa, where living standards were concerned. When their children in English schools were stopped and punished if they dared to speak Afrikaans, their native tongue, they did not stone or burn down schools, commit violence, because they were being forced to be taught in English. They learned hard, started their own CVO schools, teaching in your own language. Established and eventually came out on top, so the Afrikaner today is ahead in academic, technological, or scientific fields and control the economy and will do so in the foreseeable future in South Africa. You don't kill because you were previously disadvantaged or because your employer does not treat you nice enough. You kill because you are an uncivilized barbarian or savage who does not deserve to be part of society. Any society, Beattie Boy throws in here. After the Second War of Independence, Afrikaner mine workers had no rights and had to look after their families with less than a pittance. They did not torture the elderly or murder whole families because they were hungry. A person is not at disadvantage because someone else is not doing enough for you. A person is a laggard because you are not performing and pulling your own weight. Nobody helped the Afrikaners after the Second War of Independence to advantage. We have worked hard ourselves and persevered to succeed, making South Africa the powerhouse of Africa. Yes, and there's another piece of optimism. And God bless you, South Africans, for showing the true spirit of grit. But you're outnumbered 50 million blacks to 3 million whites. I'm sorry for the message there. And the only hope this boy has, with 50 years of trying to figure out how to save our white race from the multicolored hordes around the globe and the interbreedings, the intermarriage as well, is now taking use of the internet, as we're doing with our blind list and our friends on Facebook, and developing cells. All people want to figure out what area there may be cells. Well, they may be able to do it, but we're not going to make their job easy. And I get accused of repetition, but I still maintain there could be people clicked in today for the very first time ever. They haven't seen the other shows, so they don't know that this is repetition. They can go back, and besides, I don't talk about doing education on these shows, but repetition, is that not the key in educational schools in the good old days when we had to memorize things? So an interconnecting cell system for the white tribes remaining, and I say that in a dire fashion, the white tribes remaining. If my hometown could drop to 49% in 50 years, it's happening everywhere. That's repetitive, I'm saying, yes. Okay, so we've got Wolfe the Dauntless Hero Came, and we will try and remember to put on a hero to keep my think tank pleased and happy. I can't think of a parallel where you've got a think tank that can't control the driver of the tank. I'll concede partially, even though I know that you folks out there advising me are far sharper than I am. I just have a passion about establishing our strength again, establishing our lands again, establishing our control again, and then revert back to the good old school systems that we had. I just don't feel putting the educational situation that we have time. I'm sorry, we don't have time. We must reclaim our lands legally in a defense mechanism. But the beauty is the internet keeps us interconnected. And on a personal note, I must say my nerves must be coming back to being okay, because I can't believe that I was inspired to do a show on a Sunday. But the bulletin there from South Africa Farm Watch, SA Farm Watch, the suggestion from the friends of the motherland that I talk about our British and British Canadian heroes, there's just too much on the plate. The roofer didn't show up to do the roof again. I hate to take a local boy to claims court. I hope he hears about this show, but he better hurry up and get that roof done. Now, I've covered our heroes, the South African patriots on the front line of the white race. Don't forget they've got that deadline in Rhodesia, Zimbabwe, put out by the dictator Mugabe, to turn over all the white lands by the 15th of October or face jail. Well, you know, as I said the other day, face machete. So it's up to you, folks. We can't play games with this stuff. Let's get down to business, okay? Let's get down to hard business. Well, thanks for tuning in on this special edition of the Dinosaur News. Talk to you next time. Bye for now.